Welcome to the Telescope Show. We are discovering God through geek culture, vanquishing doubt, and helping you become a hero of faith. Matthew Seipel Anderson here, filled with glorious purpose, ready to hit this show hard. It's been a minute, hasn't it, since I've done an episode, but I'm really happy to be back, full of fresh vision and excited to bring more content than ever before. Well, today we're talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. But before we get into that, let's check out some news. As you know, Scarlett Johansson is still suing Marvel for breach of contract. The release of Black Widow on Disney Plus may have cost the actress as much as $50 million in bonus money. Yowzas! There's a blog up on the telescopeshow.com that shares my thoughts of should she sue, should she not sue? But I was curious what you all thought, so I asked a few of you. Actually, I was at youth camp for my job as a youth pastor, and I asked some of the students at camp what they thought of Scarlett Johansson suing Marvel Studio, and here is their reaction. Would you sue Disney?
I would sue.
Why is that?
Because I want my money.
It's Disney. I mean, people sued McDonald's for they spilled their own coffee on them. Okay.
No, that's different. That's different.
That was too
They
hot.
literally gave her third-degree burns. It was if I was gonna get paid a certain price, and I had a contract signed on paper, and I was supposed to get paid $1 million, and I only got $500,000, I would sue them flat.
The question is, if you were in Scarlett Johansson's shoes, would you sue Disney or would you not sue Disney?
Okay. I would really, really want to, because it's a pretty, I don't know, it feels like a crappy thing to do, but I don't think I would, because the right thing to do in her shoes feels like just go on and kind of forget about it, and plus she's rich, and if you're that rich, you don't really need the money, so, I mean, it's kind of useless.
I would sue, but I definitely wouldn't just forget it. Because Scarlett Johansson has such a big platform already on, every social media that she could speak about it easily and get people to know about it. Though I think Disney made a really bad move. I also think it would be right to just forget it, especially because she's rich and she doesn't really need all that money.
Well, the people have spoken. Thanks for participating in my little survey there. Lots of other great things happening. Star Wars Visions is out. It's a animated series, and not just an animated series, an anime animated series. That's pretty sweet. I've watched a little bit of that. Venom 2 is out. People are enjoying it. Foundation is out on Apple Plus or Apple TV. And I watched the first episode earlier today, and that was good. I'll definitely be talking about that show on future episodes of this show. And finally, something in the future, Dune. October 22nd. Look for Dune. And finally, Marvel has announced it is releasing Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings to Disney Plus on November 12th. So that is right around the corner. And speaking of Shang-Chi, let's dive into my thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi. What a great flick. It was another thoroughly enjoyable origin story from Marvel Studios. How many origin stories has Marvel done now? I mean, so many. And this one broke the mold to some extent. It was a really great origin story for Shang-Chi's entire family, really. It wasn't just focused on one character. And each member of his family had their own arc, and Shang-Chi was really about each member of the family reconciling with the past and with the death of Shang-Chi's mother. Like Black Panther, this movie spoke to some things happening in our culture, in a very sly way. For example, Sean and Katie, of course, we know that Sean is actually Shang-Chi, but at this point in the movie, he's Sean. Sean and Katie were out having drinks with some Asian friends, and they were telling stories of times they had been stereotyped or insulted for being Asian. And it was a great scene. Shang-Chi did a great job of highlighting the fact that people do and say idiotic things. Well, anyway, things heat up as the movie progresses when the Ten Rings organization, they catch up with Sean and Katie on a San Francisco bus. And I thought that sequence was amazing. What a great fight sequence. I mean, massive battles are fun to watch, but I might prefer smaller scale action sequences. One of my favorite action sequences of all time is actually the chase scene in Captain America 2 where they're trying to assassinate Nick Fury. I love that. And this scene on the bus in San Francisco reminded me of that in a big way. It was just so much fun to watch. And, you know, the limitations, I think, of a scene like that, of a smaller scene in a confined setting, those limitations force the writers to be more creative. And I think Shang-Chi hopped, jumped, and dodged his way around every inch of that bus, inside and out. And also, we meet a really gnarly character named Razor Fist, which, I'm sorry, reminds me a bit too much of Taserface from Guardians of the Galaxy. But anyway, it was still a really great sequence and, you know, a great introduction. As the movie goes on, it gives more backstory. It introduces us to Shang-Chi's sister. She's also running from the Ten Rings and from her father, but she has her father's gift for organization, leadership, and ruthlessness. So she starts an underground fight club. And who do we run into at the fight club? It's Wu from Doctor Strange, and he's fighting a huge green beast that I later discovered was Abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie. Yeah, that Incredible Hulk movie. I think it's the one with Edward Norton. Yeah, way back. We're talking way back. And Abomination and Wu actually seem to be running a scam of their own because Wu yells at Abomination and tells him to pull his punches, quote, like they talked about. So, something fishy going on there. I suppose it's all for the crowd. It's all for entertainment. Everybody gets paid in the end. But it was cool, and Wu played a really neat little part in that film, which we will talk more about a little later. Now, I don't need to go through the entire movie. There's loads of great character development and fighting and backstory and, you know, blah, 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 stuff like that. Anyway, eventually, they end up in an alternate dimension called Ta Lo, which is the native home of Shang-Chi's mother. I would describe Ta Lo as Asian Asgard, or Pokemon Land. This is a land full of mythical beasts from Asian culture, and it was actually super cool. In this land, there is a soul-devouring dragon creature, locked behind a prison door of magical dragon scales. Yeah, that's the beauty of this kind of film. You can have a soul-devouring dragon creature locked behind a prison door of magical dragon scales, and everyone's like, yeah, of course you do. Why wouldn't you? So our characters end up in this mythical land of Ta Lo, and Wenwu, getting brave here as the podcast progressed, that's the name of Shang-Chi's father. Wenwu believes his wife's spirit is locked there. And he believes that he can resurrect her or free her by breaking down the door made of magical dragon scales. In reality, this creature has been sort of telepathically communicating to him and trying to get him to come because the Ten Rings have the power to break through the magical door of dragon scales and set the evil soul-sucking beast free so it can suck souls once again. Oh, and did I mention it has like a whole army of miniature soul-sucking mini-dragons that suck souls and then deliver them to the main soul-sucking dragon. It's pretty wild. It's pretty out there. It's pretty colorful. It's awesome. And I won't spoil the ending, but I will say the ending is very poignant. And there's an unforgettable scene where everyone who fought in the climactic battle is lighting candles and setting them adrift in the river to honor and remember those who died in the fight. Shang-Chi lights a candle for his father. The moment felt so heavy and sacred. I mean, this guy was a nasty villain who really messed up Shang-Chi's life. And yet, he offers forgiveness, or he chooses forgiveness, and he lights a candle to honor and remember his father. And that was a theme that went through the whole movie. And there was similar scenes that had to do with Shang-Chi's mother and him kind of grieving and making peace with that loss. And then at the end of the film, he's forgiving, he's letting go, and he's showing honor for, the positive impact his father did have in his life. And that just hit me in a powerful way. The Bible says, honor your father and mother. And it's like, why is that a command? And it's a command regardless of merit. And that doesn't make sense. It's like, well, they should earn that honor somewhat, right? Well, ideally, yes, they do earn it and they do deserve it. But even when they don't deserve it, I think the Bible commands that because honor does something inside of us. Forgiveness does something inside of us. And it's something that is healthy. It's nourishing. It's life-giving. It will set you free. Some of you listening, you maybe have some unforgiveness in your heart, and you just would rather spit in the sidewalk than show any honor and respect, maybe to your parents or maybe to some other people in your life. But I also want to challenge you today. Think about forgiving. Choose to forgive, because it will set you free. You're the one carrying around that ball and chain of unforgiveness, and if you will release it, it will set you free. You don't have to forget what was done. You don't have to be best friends. You don't have to act like it never happened. No, it did happen, and there are consequences, but you can be free of the burden of unforgiveness today if you choose to. And then, going a step further, especially in regards to parents, if you choose to honor them just because they brought you into this world, if for no other reason, it has a healthy and wholesome effect on the inside. And I think that's why that really struck me. So that's my encouragement today. Choose to forgive. Choose to show honor. You'll be taking your first step to becoming free from your past, and a stronger version of you will step forward to face the future. Well, speaking of future, what does the future look like for Shang-Chi? First, it's clear that the 10 rings are going to play a major role in Phase 4 of the MCU. He's meeting with a bunch of MCU luminaries like Bruce Banner, Carol Danvers, Rocket, Ayo, and others literally put the 10 rings on the MCU's center stage. That was so cool to see. It really, really reminded me of how the Tesseract was introduced. It was powerful and mysterious, and we all knew it was going to be a driving force going forward. So that whole thing, I just see a parallel there. Shang-Chi actually reminds me of Captain America in a lot of ways. He's a relatable, soft-spoken character with a strong moral compass, and I can't wait to watch him find his place among the others, the other more established characters. And I hope that he drags them into a karaoke bar and sings some karaoke with them. That'd be super cool to see. Finally, I want to end with a few questions and maybe a prediction or two. So there are 3 strong, bad female characters right now that I am really curious how they are going to interact going forward. You've got Shang-Chi's sister, who definitely does not share her brother's moral idealism, right? Instead of keeping her promise to shut down her father's training compound, the final post-credit scene reveals that she moves in, redecorates, and makes it a co-ed karate criminal club. Yes, girl ninjas. Who are those girl ninjas? Could they be the Black Widows that were set free from the Red Room at the end of Black Widow? So she's one character that's running around. Also, there's Val, or Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. And she's the one with the black hair with the streak of color in it who shows up at the post-credit scene of Black Widow, and she's also in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and she's hiring, trained killers. So what's she up to? She might just be a high-level henchman, but she has a lot of authority, so she is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And finally, there is the Power Broker, aka Sharon Carter, who is now on the inside, double agent. She's building her own organization in the shadows, and already has a significant amount of street cred that we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, does she work for somebody else, or is she building her own thing also? Do we have 3 separate forces? Are they all tied together? Are they going to go to battle? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. Finally, if I had to hazard a guess about the future of Shang-Chi, I would, at this point, the only thing I would really say is that I think there will be a major connection between Eternals and Shang-Chi, if only because the Eternals are the next film to drop. It makes sense to build this new phase on new characters, and then allow the story to suck in the established characters as it develops. The characters in the Shang-Chi post-credit scene were all in agreement that the rings were foreign to them. I mean, literally, Marvel just told us. These rings are something new, like nobody in the MCU has any clue about them. So they are getting ready to do something new, and they want to whet our appetite, make us curious, make us do podcasts and blogs and think about it and talk about it, because they want to build this thing and make the hype train like leave the station. And I would say, Marvel, good job. The hype train has left the station. We're all hyped up. We're excited. And yeah, I think I'm going to call that a wrap. Thank you so much for listening. It's great to be back. Please subscribe to the show. Leave a review, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. That helps the show tremendously. And, tell a friend about this show. Say, you need this show in your life. All right. Love you all. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.